Jamaica, a monster of a storm named Melissa is bearing down on us, our beloved country, threatening the livelihood of our brothers and sisters. And trust me, we need prayer more than ever. Hurricane warnings are in effect as this storm threatened to explode into a Category 5 hurricane with 150 yard plus miles per hour winds, bringing 15 to 25 inches of rain, deadly flash flood, landslide, and 5 to 10 feet of storm surge that can devastate parish like Kingston and the entire island. So please board up your windows, gather your supplies, and hold your children and loved ones, your personal belongings very close and in a safety manner. Because Melissa is crawling. The best thing we can do right now is to pray for Jamaica. Pray for Jamaica protection. And we're just praying that Jamaica somehow, miraculously, pull through this. And hope that this just turn away from Jamaica. But anyhow, this is Mr. Evan Thompson, giving us an update in relation to this situation at hand. Pray for Jamaica people. God bless.
Very much, Minister, and very good morning to everyone. It has been a long few days and lots of activity, and of course now we're faced by the information of a tropical storm that's rapidly developing and moving closer and closer to Jamaica. The latest bulletin that was issued this morning would have been bulletin number 29 that was issued at 11 o'clock. And just to give you an idea of some of the information that is there, while I'm hoping that we will be able to show a few slides. The latest position was at 16.5 north and 75.1 west. Now that means that the system still has not moved very much. The movement has still only been about 2 miles per hour. And that has been the situation for the past 24 hours. No significant movement. There has been some strengthening, however, where the system has actually moved from a storm at wind speeds of 45 kilometers per hour to 60 to 65 and now reaching 110 kilometers per hour. At 119 kilometers per hour, it would be classified as a hurricane. So it is really on the brink of becoming a hurricane, moving still toward Jamaica. The expectation, well, the system is currently moving toward the northwest, and that is or west northwest, and that is at just 1 mile per hour, and it is packing winds, as I said, of 110 kilometers per hour. Now that system is expected to continue moving toward the west-northwest. You would see one image here that gives you an idea of what the mass of clouds associated with the system look like. And if you look into that black area, at the center of the black, almost a circle, you'll see where the eye of the system is located. Very little movement, but it is drifting closer to the island of Jamaica, the eastern part of Jamaica, that's moving toward the northwest at only 1 mile or 2 miles per hour. Now it's expected to continue that motion throughout much of today, and then it is going to be moving toward the west, to move westward along the southern. Let me move to something that will show you a little bit more. There we go. If we take a look at this, it might be a bit small for you, but those black circles indicate the position of the system in the projected track. So it's expected to move toward the west, and when it is south of Jamaica, south of Clarendon in particular, it's expected to start moving toward the north. At that time, it is expected to be, all this time it is expected to be a major hurricane, because what we're expecting after today is that there will be rapid intensification of this system. That's a phase that some of these hurricanes go through, especially in these days of climate change. We find that this rapid intensification is becoming much more frequent, where there is a period where they just jump from one category to the next in just a couple of hours. So this is what we are expecting to occur with Tropical Storm Melissa, soon to become Hurricane Melissa, and it will continue to move toward the southern coastline of Jamaica. It should make impact with the coastline by Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning. Today is Saturday morning. So we have about 3 days of movement. During this period, we will be experiencing quite a bit of rainfall because the rains are expected to begin any time now. You would have experienced some brief showers already, but because of that cloud mass that you would see on the earlier image, I'll show you this one in a little while. Well, we can take a look at this closer one. You'll see that we are basically starting to experience the rainfall. Jamaica to the western side, the left side of the image. So the system will continue to advance closer to us. So we'll be into more of the oranges and the darker shades going into the black as we move through this weekend. So much of that rainfall will be moving across Jamaica, and that of course will be producing significant flooding over sections of the country. That is what would be expected with this amount of rainfall. The projection, I'll show you this chart, which shows us in that pink area. This is where the rainfall is expected what it's expected to look like, where the rain is concerned. And we're seeing that in the chart to the right, it shows 20 to 30 inches of rainfall. This is really an estimate. A better guide actually suggests that it will be more like 15 to 25 millimeters, 15 to 25 inches of rainfall that will move across Jamaica over the next few days. That is significant. When we have 2 inches of rainfall, it's whole heap of rainfall. So when we talk about 15 to 25, this is much more than, oh, that's somebody else's phone, I assume. Right, this is much more than you can even imagine to experience. This is a major rain-producing event. It is considered to be producing catastrophic flooding. In some cases, they say life-threatening. We have already heard about some lives being lost in Haiti, and this is because of this system. So we must take every precaution when it comes to the rainfall. If you are in any area that is flood prone, a low-lying area, you must find a way to build a relationship with somebody that will help you to move from that area, or move to those shelters as soon as they are open and make sure that you are able to ride out this whole system. Now it's going to be here for a long time. This system, as I said from the earlier picture, lots of rainfall, and it will be with us for a good 5 days or so. Heavy rainfall, increasing wind speeds. We are expecting that storm force winds. I believe there is another image that I could probably show if I got it in, probably not. But it shows that these tropical storm force winds are expected to start being experienced in eastern parts of the island by this evening. And then as we go through tomorrow, those storm force winds will continue right across the country. We expect that we will experience the hurricane force winds starting to impact the island on Monday morning. It's likely that it will be Monday morning. So we are going to go through almost 48 hours of storm force winds affecting sections of the island before the hurricane force winds actually begin to impact us. And that is expected to continue right through Monday, right through Tuesday, right through Wednesday. And then we could be starting to experience some weakening in terms of the wind speeds. But hurricanes have a way, even if the center has moved away from you, the impact of the system usually continues for another 2 days. So expect that throughout next week, we will be impacted by this system. It will be very difficult to move around. It will not be, even after the system has basically said that it is moving away. I had a discussion with representatives from the National Hurricane Center in the US just before I came here. And they were saying that the kind of rainfall that we're experiencing, that we will be experiencing, is going to prevent us from actually even doing some of the usual activities immediately after the system center moves off the island. We're going to be prevented because of blocked roads, because of landslides, because of the amount of water that remains over the country, that it's going to be very difficult to move around, assuming that all of this pans out the way that is being projected at this time. So it will be a major hurricane. What is projected right now is that it will be a Category 4 hurricane that makes impact on the island. It will likely decrease as it moves toward the north coast, but a Category 4 hurricane is more than we have experienced before moving across the island. Gilbert was a Category 3 hurricane when it moved over Jamaica. It became Category 4 when it was heading to the Cayman Islands. Ivan was a Category 4 hurricane, yes, but the center did not pass over the island. Beryl was also a Category 4 hurricane, but it also did not impact us with a landfall. It was a direct hit because we've got the heavy rainfall and the associated weather, but it did not move over the island in terms of the center of the system. We have not had this experience before, so it's important for us to consider this as an extraordinary situation. As you can see, the center is expected to move off the island later on Tuesday, but the conditions are expected to linger even as the situation, as the center or as the hurricane itself starts to move even over eastern Cuba. We will continue to experience spiral bands from the system moving across the island. Those can produce more torrential rainfall. Lots more of the flooding is likely to take place even after the eye of the system has moved off the country. So those are the images that I wanted to share with you at this time. There is also the concern of storm surge. This is something that is often overlooked, but we will recall that back in the time in 2004 with Hurricane Ivan, we had storm surge that completely demolished an entire community, Caribbean Terrace in St. Andrew, near to the Palisados area, but that community no longer exists in the way that it used to because of storm surge. We would also know that with Ivan and with Dean in 2007 and even with Beryl, we had significant storm surge on the southern coastline in Rocky Point, in Portland Cottage of Clarendon, and there are other areas on the south coast that also were affected by storm surge. Now, storm surge is also a flooding event, but it is not the flooding from the rainfall. It is flooding that comes in with the waters of the sea. With these tremendous winds that a Category 4 hurricane could produce, that will push the water onto the shoreline from the water of the sea onto the shoreline, and with it pulling back into the sea, it takes even houses and communities possibly back into the sea along with it. So if you are living anywhere near a coastline, it is important that you pay attention to the fact that storm surge is a real potential. What will make a difference in terms of how badly you're affected by the storm surge is where exactly the center makes landfall. On the right side or the eastern side of that center, the storm surge will be at its maximum. So if the center of the system passes over western Clarendon, for example, along the coast, the eastern part of Clarendon will experience significant storm surge, and this could be up to like 8 feet or maybe more. So we will give you more details later in our later bulletins of the height of the storm surge. We'll try to see if we can also produce some maps that will indicate how far inland the storm surge will impact, so that those persons who are some distance from the coastline but still in the low-lying area would also have an idea of what to expect. Of course, that's where we are concerned with places, even in the St. Andrew, Kingston area, even coastal St. Catherine, that could be affected by storm surge. Port Royal comes to mind, and there are also communities associated with Portmore as you move toward the coast as well, that would be at risk from storm surge because of this system. As I said, it is it is what is called a catastrophic hurricane. That is what is expected to not only pass the island, but move directly over the island. I'm sure there will be some questions afterwards, but that's the information.
Here for now.
Yes.
I'm going to keep you here, which is not usually the way we do things. Usually wait until the end. But you gave a very important update, and it is extremely, extremely frightening. And so we want to take some questions. I know that we have one question already. Can I get the microphone so that we can get that question answered? So you're saying today we're going to feel rain? There's going to be rain?
Yes, we will start to experience some rain today, but tomorrow throughout the day is when we expect that the rain will increase. And so today is really the last day to do what you have to do on the outside.
Right.
Don't expect to do anything tomorrow or any time between now and next week Friday.
Okay. All right, let's take the first question. Thank you, Cheryl, for subbing today.
Thanks, Cheryl. Mr. Thompson, Arthur Hall from the Jamaica upstairs.
Yes.
Quick check. You keep saying the eastern side, the western side will have rain. My granny in Trinityville or my friend in Moko wants to know which communities should start expecting rains and where should we tell people move, evacuate. That's what we want to share, not just eastern and western. Which communities should we say move now?
All right. As the system, thank you, Arthur, for the question. As the system moves closer and closer to the island, we will start to experience the heavy rainfall. Mainly, I would start by saying in eastern parts of the island, but then I'll continue by saying parts of St. Thomas. I won't be able to name communities, but as we move across St. Thomas, Portland, the Kingston and St. Andrew area, that's where the rainfall is going to start. As it progresses, then we'll start to see St. Mary being included. All the communities in St. Mary will be moving over to St. Catherine, moving over to Clarendon and Manchester, and in the north to some extent St. Anne. But because the system is going to be approaching more from the southern side, below the country, if you're looking at the map, we're going to experience more of the rainfall at that point. As we go through Sunday and into Monday, the rainfall will become heaviest mainly St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, going across into St. Elizabeth and eventually Westmoreland to a lesser extent, slightly lesser extent. But as I mentioned before, we're talking about amounts of rainfall that you have not been accustomed to experiencing. And the other parts of the island will also get significant rainfall. Our bulletin had indicated that western parts of the island will also experience significant rainfall, which is also unusual, but most of it will occur over those parishes that were named. Parts of Trelawney, St. James, and Hanover will probably be a little bit less impacted, but let's not take that as comfort, because it will still be more rainfall than you bargained for.
All right. And there'll be
surges now, the coastline areas?
coastal areas.
Coastal areas. In terms of the storm surge, for the storm surge coastal areas, we are expecting that parts of Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas will be most impacted by the storm surge. So the coastal areas of those parishes should be really watching. I understand that our fishermen have for the most part moved in. People are commenting that they are seeing all the fishers coming in, and I take that as a good sign. Hopefully they are securing their vessels and making sure that they would be able to ride out the storm at home.
All right, thank you very much. Was there any other question we had at this point for Evan? Okay, here we are, nationwide.
Yes.
Morning, Mr. Thompson. Morning, everybody. Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News. I've heard a lot of warnings being given to persons that are in low-lying areas, but are persons in high areas also at risk? And if so, what should they do?
Of course. Thank you for your question, Mahiri. The hazards impact different areas in different ways. But if you are living in a hilly area, there is the landslide hazard that is a real possibility. is an eventuality. It is going to occur. We're going to have landslides, and some areas are well known for land slippages. Others might not be as well known, but because the soil is already basically saturated, and with the extent of rainfall expected, we're going to have more communities along hill slopes, steep hill slopes, that will be impacted by landslides. The matter of the wind is usually increased over hills. If you are living on a hillside or on a mountains, it's lovely views from there, but it also puts you at increased risk for wind damage. And that is because there is a resultant flow. Apart from the impact of the winds from the hurricane directly, there is the resultant flow in that what hits the ground also rises up the mountains and the hills. So you have that both things coming together and adding to the extent of the wind speeds that are experienced over slopes. That will be mostly on the slopes toward the south side of the island as the system progresses, because you will have more of the wind coming onto the coast from the south.
Right,
So is it safe to then say that there's no quote-unquote ideal area to be in, given the fact that all areas seem to be affected in some way by the system?
Unfortunately, you are correct with that. There's nowhere that will escape the wrath of this hurricane. It will be, the impact may be somewhat lesser for the northwestern part of the island, that would include Hanover, St. James, and Trelawney. Possibly the impact is going to be less, and maybe a part of the west, at least the western part of St. Anne. But otherwise, it's going to be more. So they will still experience quite a number of these hazards affecting their area, but it may not be as much as those in St. Thomas, for example.
All right. One more question? Sure, that's fine.
Minister, just got one
Sure.
from one of our listeners who says, when you say 15 to 25 inches...
Stand up, please.
Oh, stand up.
They want to see your face on camera.
Evan, when you say 15 to 25 inches of rain, should that mean for the farmer in Mavis Bank or the person in Arborview? What does 15 to 25 inches of rain mean?
I wish I could even describe it, because we don't normally get that kind of rainfall. But if you have experienced any of our major rainfall producers in the past, this is going to be more. You would recall when Hurricane Wilma was developing in 2005, well, some of us will recall, Hurricane Wilma developed off the southwestern coast of Jamaica in October as well. And while that was developing, there was so much rainfall over the island that there was widespread, extensive flooding over all parishes. That is, we are expecting more than Wilma. If you are thinking also of, there was Nicole that moved over. It did not make landfall to over Jamaica either. It was east of the island, but the rainfall that it was experienced across Jamaica was again significant. And if anyone can remember that event, that is also a good marker, but it is going to be more. We haven't seen this kind of... We have to bear in mind also, I should point out that with the slow movement of the system, it doesn't allow you to recover. It's not like it's going to just move off and then gradually the water runs off. It's going to sit there pouring water while it's barely moving. And that is a significant challenge that we have to be aware of. It's going to cause significant, widespread, catastrophic, life-threatening floods, as long as what is predicted does take place. There's a small window of a change in a track, but even in my discussion with the Hurricane Center this morning, they said that window is closing because it is getting a little bit closer, and all the models are becoming more in agreement with where this system will go.
All right. Any more questions? So, any last words, Evan, to Jamaica? There are a lot of anxious Jamaicans who are just worried about what's going to happen. What would you say to them on Saturday morning at 11:05 a.m.?
I would say if there are some things that are not yet in place, that must be in place, you might have to Brave the crowds, because there are going to be crowds wherever you need to go. You might have to brave it if you need something. Let's not take advantage of getting much more than you will need. But consider your brothers and your sisters as well. There is somebody else who will not be able to go. There is somebody else who will be in need, and you might have to provide that kind of assistance to them, even now as we prepare. Today is your last day to prepare for this hurricane. If you have not done anything yet, don't think that you will be able to go out tomorrow and it will be easy to go and get things done, because that might not actually be a reality. You have to do what you can now. But I don't want you to think there is no hope, because I still believe that we can trust that things will not be as bad as I am making it sound to you, by at least preparing yourself, yes, but at the same time believing that you will ride this through. You will get over it, and tomorrow, metaphorically tomorrow, it will really be next week, the sun will shine again and you will be okay. Just take care, take the precautions that are necessary, and do it now.
All right, thank you very much, Evan. Just reminding everyone that what Evan said, finish all your prep today. You won't have a chance to do it after today. And you're going to start feeling the tropical storm, winds, and the rain is coming from today. He also said something, which was that we must expect more rainfall than we've gotten from any of the other systems we can remember. So we have to take this very, very seriously. And Evan, we are so grateful to have you in the government service, and you will continue. I'm assuring you that we'll continue to hear from Evan. He will come on periodically. If we can't do the briefings in this room, we will find a way to get the information to you nevertheless. Thank you, Evan.
You're welcome.
Up next, we have Minister Matthew Samuda, our Minister of Water.